We're joined by Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback, and of course, you see him, he's ubiquitous on ESPN. Dan, I guess you're mostly on Get Up, right? And NFL Live maybe a little bit? Where can people find you the most on ESPN these days?
Yeah, I mean, Get Up, First Take, Sports Center, NFL Live. I mean, we kind of do it all when we're up there, and so especially now that a lot of it is remote. So really any ESPN show that is generally focused on football, I am a part of in some capacity.
And I hope you and your family's doing well. Everybody's safe and healthy during this really weird time?
Yeah, everyone's doing really well, thank you. We, obviously as the weather turns for us people in the Northeast, it gets a lot better.
Yeah.
And being outside, so we're doing well. We're healthy, which we're thankful for, and hopefully the same for you, man.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. We are. Thank you very much. All right, let's get to it. You put a great video up on your Twitter feed on Monday morning. You went back, you watched Daniel Jones's rookie season, and the place you started was his work against man-to-man defense. Why don't you just tell the folks out there that listen to the podcast exactly what you saw?
Well, as I watched last year, I watch every game as the weeks go. So I'm up and current on every team and every player, really, or at least certainly the quarterbacks and what they're doing well and struggling with. And, as the offseason got going, we did free agency and then whatnot, it was consumed with that and the draft. And so as we settled into a little bit of a back into spring, summertime, it's like, okay, what guys can I really start watching more in depth and seeing the things that they do or don't do well? And so it started with some of the younger guys. And I started with Daniel and, just went with kind of no preconceived notion, just wanted to watch him play. And, you start to see the differences as a player, the things he's doing well and the things that he's struggling with. And, when you're watching it, my eyes go, that's a nice throw versus man coverage. And there's another nice throw in a tight window versus man coverage. And there's another. And then you keep this on my notes. I just kind of start seeing this trend of really accurate throws versus man coverage. And so I watched all the tape, watched all the games over. And as I'm rolling through my notes, analytics have started to play a part. And so I contacted our research guy that I work with at ESPN. I said, hey, man, I do this all the time. I said, my eyes are telling me this. Do the numbers say the same thing? And he came back to me and said, yeah, he was really good in man coverage. And so that was a really cool – I love when that happened. So it just stood out that he excelled with his ball placement and man coverage. And it got my brain racking on two things. One, I remember doing a breakdown of Daniel against, I want to say, Temple on Get Up the day after he was drafted. I said, this is his strength, that he is a very accurate thrower and a very anticipatory thrower of the football. And then it got me thinking, man, when it comes to man coverage, the quarterback or the thing that the quarterback absolutely needs to have above pocket movement, above anticipation, above a strong arm, they got to be NFL accurate. And that stood out for Daniel in man coverage.
Yeah, you're right. And you go through the year, just look at the games he had his best games in. The Buccaneers, heavy man team. The Lions, heavy man team. The Dolphins, he did not play in that game, but the Eagles play a lot of man. He played well against them. So, yep. Yeah, you're 100% right. And I tracked that during the year, too. When you look at that, and I also think when teams play man against him, Dan, it helps him with some of his weaknesses because I feel like he's a lot more decisive and he gets rid of the ball much quicker against man because he knows what he's seeing.
Well, that's the case for, basically every quarterback. So, I want to be fair to him as well.
Of course.
That's why teams flex the tight ends out so much or flex the tailbacks out so much because they get those indicators pre-snap. And I've always said, then it becomes recess football. On the playground, I pick that guy first, I'm going to throw him the ball a bunch. And so you're really just trying to find that matchup that you like. And he did a really good job with that. And I also think, some of their skill players played – Slayton played bigger than expectation. Golden certainly was a very strong player. Ingram, when healthy, played really well. And so, when the quarterback knows before the snap, okay, I've got man coverage, or has a really good inkling or an idea of it, then it's really about just making sure that the guy that you chose, he wins, right? Now, a win in the NFL, it's very difficult for a fan to understand what a win in the NFL looks like. You know, like a win in college football, you know, a guy's 3 or 4 yards of separation. A win in the NFL means that your guy is in front of the defender in whatever capacity, whether he's running out, whether he's breaking in, coming back to you, that there is, I guess, a body of separation. You know, that the defender is not in between the quarterback and the receiver. Now, that's not a lot of separation, but that's open in the NFL. And that's why I always have said this. Every guy in the NFL is accurate. Every player in the NFL is accurate at that position. It's the NFL. The guys that become good players, really good players, great players, special players, has NFL accuracy, meaning I could throw the ball in a 4-inch by 4-inch box, and the defender really doesn't matter. I'm that accurate of a thrower. And I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is there yet, but you can definitely see the comfort when he was throwing the football versus man coverage and the confidence in him throwing the football when it was leaving his hand, and it showed with the accuracy.
Yeah, Dan, and I think it goes back to something that we talked about last year around draft time. You know, he wasn't exactly throwing to CeeDee Lamb when he was playing at Duke. I mean, these guys at Duke that he was throwing to, they were not really creating a lot of separation. So I almost think the fact that he played at a smaller program without great talent actually got him a little prepared for these NFL windows he's seeing now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that was probably part of my, misevaluation, if you want to say, with Daniel, is I probably undervalued how poor those players around him were. And I did a Duke game, and I just didn't feel like those guys were that bad of players. And I don't want to knock those guys. Now, I love the fact that you brought up windows and the different windows you're seeing, because as much as he excelled in the man coverage, there's not really windows that much in man coverage. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a window sometimes with a hole defender, a guy hanging in, but a lot of times it's just you're thrown to a spot and it's a one-on-one type thing. I do believe that watching his tape, he really needs, and this would be the number one thing, more than the turnover, more than the fumbles in the pocket, he will fix that stuff. I would bet a lot of money that he will fix that stuff this offseason. The number one thing that if I was a Giants fan I would be watching is, does the arm strength take a little step forward? Listen, he doesn't need to become, he doesn't need to have a howitzer on his shoulder, but the windows in the zone coverage that are smaller to begin with and close faster, that is when you need to have a strong enough arm. And I do think that is where I watch the tape and I go, that's got to improve. That's got to get better for him to really take a next step and be like, wow, this dude's on his way to being a really, really good player.
We're joined by Dan Orlovsky. Now, is that a matter of, Dan, of working on your arm, or is that like torque in the hips? Is that footwork? How does a quarterback go about trying to get a little bit more velocity, a little bit more spin on his passes, trying to get those balls downfield?
Yeah, it's really starting from the ground up and working back to the ground. You know, a lot of arm strength or push starts from the push that you can generate off the ground. If you think of a baseball pitcher and the rubber that he has, a lot of those guys are these guys that are these thick-thighed guys that use that to push and generate force, and that drives the ball. So part of that is him being a little bit more grounded in figuring out ways to generate force off the ground. Then it is this turn and this torque through his core and his upper body. Now, some guys are fast twitch guys, and some guys are long and linear guys, and so you don't want to become consumed by it. But all these little adjustments that you can make. It's a little bit of the left arm ripping down to start that turn. If you think of a golfer turning around on his driver, you want to turn around the ball to generate force. Some of it is just building up that shoulder and that capsule. A lot of it is the wrist and the forearm and generating that wrist and forearm strength and snap, and then working back down through the body. You know, and so, again, all these, there's so much science behind this nowadays. I'm sure he's on top of it. And I would expect that they will see, he's not going to come out here and look like, Patrick Mahomes with his arm, but I would expect that the arm strength is going to be improved.
All right, you talked about him against man. What did you see from Jones when he faced some zone defenses over the course of his rookie year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one, there was confusion. There was some confusion. Of course. Duh.
Yeah.
Expected. Welcome to the NFL. Welcome to seeing NFL defenses. And the reality is this. Zone defenses in the NFL, they really change. There is no just boring cover three. There is, but then this team plays it with the corners overlapping. And this team plays it with the seam guys carrying down the field. And then this team plays it with an adjustment to the backside. And this team plays it carrying number three down the seam. All these different zone adjustments. And seeing them over and over and over and over again when we're talking about anticipation throws. That's what's needed against zone coverage. If people can imagine man coverage, it's guy versus guy, right? And I just wait for my guy to win, or I think he wins and I rip it. Zone, I don't have one set of eyes on me. I've got 6 sets of eyes on me, 7 sets of eyes on me. And so those windows, I've got to understand just the little things about that defense. Because if I understand, okay, this team plays cover 3 with the will linebacker carrying number 3 vertical, that means that my backside receiver breaking in's got a really good chance at an in-breaking route, and that drop-down safety defender that's in the boundary, I know he's my problem, therefore I can get the ball out quicker, right? I can anticipate more, and I can throw it to a spot more, and therefore the arm strength isn't really a factor. Now, the next week, this team, they're trying to just knock the number 3 defender, and they're going to carry it with the mic, and the will's going to push to the field, and now I've got a different hole that I have to figure out, a different defender that I have to move. Those are all those little things that I don't want to sit there and say Daniel Jones struggled with. There's a learning curve. This is the learning curve, and I think that was the biggest thing, was seeing those things, understanding those things, and then applying those things. And it's a very different world of, okay, now I watched it on tape and I saw it. Hey, Daniel, do you understand that? Yeah, Coach, I got that. I see how they're playing that. All right, now let's get on the board. All right, let's draw it on the board. And now when this team plays this zone, this is really the number 1 guy that's going to be an issue with this concept. I've got to figure out a way to move him or manipulate him. The ball should go number 1 to number 2 to number 3. Now let's go walk through it on the field. All right, now I'm seeing it. This looks this way. Yep, this is the defense. Okay, that's the defender I have to move. Now let's go execute it in practice. Let's go execute it in a game, right, with everything on the line. And that is what the maturation process looks. That's what the learning curve is. And so versus zone, confused a little bit. And then, 2, just getting a really good understanding of his receivers. Okay, Golden sits in the holes this way. Darius Slayton runs through the holes this way. Ingram runs through the holes this way. And so Shep runs through the holes, really likes to sit versus the color. And so those guys really getting on the same page is a massive. And that's, when people say timing, I've never really believed in timing. It's seeing it the same way. And it's imperative that Daniel starts to see things the same way those receivers do. And then it's imperative the receivers see the same thing the way the way Daniel does. And then 3, the arm strength. The arm strength through those windows. Because, again, you got 6, 7 eyes looking at you, right? And so you got 12 or 14 different eyeballs that are, when you put that foot in the ground and that arm starts to go back, someone's driving. Someone is making their calculated, educated guess. That ball is coming out here, and that's where you've got to be so fast and so efficient and so on top.
One more question about his rookie year, Dan, then I want to look ahead to his sophomore season with the new coaching structure around him. You talked about, protecting the ball, the fumbles. I think a lot of that comes down to pocket awareness, right, and feeling the pressure and getting rid of the ball quicker. For a quarterback, how hard is it to improve in those areas? Or, I don't know, to me, I think a lot of that will kind of be instinctual and what they call, quote-unquote, feeling the rush and just, processing quicker to get rid of the ball faster. Where do you think and how do you think he needs to get better to fix some of those issues where I think a lot of the turnover issues kind of start for him?
Yeah, first of all, stronger. Get stronger in the weight room. That is. I was with Matthew Stafford when he was right in the back end of the younger part of his career and hitting the middle part of his career, and he was having fumbling issues. And he just emphasized it. Every day we did drills in practice. He hit the weight room hard. He got under squat rack and squatted. Now people go, wait, that's your lower half. Not necessarily. Put 315 pounds on your back and squat and see what it does to your core. I mean, it's going to strengthen your core. It's going to strengthen your upper back sitting on there. So get stronger in the weight room. Build up those forearms. everything we did was about ball security in the pocket. We did stuff in the weight room and then on the field drills every single day. He emphasized it, and he got a lot better at it. So that's a big commitment, and I'm sure Daniel is doing that. Can you get better at it? Yes. Is it something that is instinctual? Absolutely. Are you going to become a completely different player in that regard in an off season? No, that's completely unrealistic and it's not going to happen. But you can definitely improve it. And I try to get people, like the average throw in the NFL is 2.5 seconds, right? Okay. Now imagine the difference in 2.3 seconds. I mean, that's 0.2 of a second. That's the average throw or the average time to the ball getting out on time. And I want everyone just, if they can imagine those defensive ends that come around the edge and they have that arm stretched out and they're just straining for the quarterback, straining to get the ball. Those guys are 1/10 of a second or 0.2 of a second away from a sack fumble, getting a piece of the jersey. Now, the little increment that you can make with understanding the defense and moving in the pocket better and feeling a little bit better, the little bit you can get better. Can you get 0.2 of a second better? Because that sometimes is the difference, right? Like that's the little bit of a difference. So you're not going to see this massive jump, but you don't need to. You need to get that 0.2 of a second faster so that strain doesn't get there and that sack fumble doesn't get there and it just misses. That's the emphasis for the offseason for him in regards to that, and I'm sure it's a focal point. They will do drill after drill after drill after drill, and it's just like anything. The more you see it, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get in it, and that will take, the instinctual comfort aspect of it. If he grinds on it, he will improve on, and I'm confident that he'll get stronger in the weight room.
So, Dan, for a quarterback, generally speaking, I don't want to use the word easy, but how much more comfortable are you when you're in the NFL for that second season as compared to the rookie year when kind of everything is going a million miles an hour and a million things are getting thrown at you every day?
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, you're from Brooklyn, New York, and I imagine you still live in New York. So let's imagine that I took you, and right now your everyday life, and you don't have any prior training in this or any type of education in this, and I brought you to a foreign country that speaks only that language.
Yeah.
There's no English-speaking people around, and I just dropped you there. I don't know what country we want to say. Let's say somewhere in South America.
Okay.
I drop you there, and there's no English-speaking. I don't give you any help. I don't give you a book. Hey, go live. Go survive. You're going to struggle. Like, you're going to struggle. You're going to sit there and go, what am I going to do? How do I just get through today? How do I get a meal? All that stuff. That's what it's like playing quarterback in the NFL as a rookie. That's what it's like just getting thrusted in there and going, I don't even know how to get to tonight. Now imagine that I told you, hey, I'm going to get you Rosetta Stone, and we're going to, kind of engulf you in this culture for 2 months back home. We're going to put you around people that are, of that culture or native to that tongue, and I give you, 6 to 8 months of just engulfing yourself into that, and you learn the language and the things that are important of that culture and all that stuff, and then I send you to that country. You're going to walk in there going, all right, I can do this. I feel pretty good. I've kind of experienced this already in a certain way. Maybe not in this exact location, but I experienced it. That's what it's like for a second-year quarterback. That's the confidence level that second-year quarterback has. Now, the asterisk is new coaching staff,
yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how quickly can he understand what they're going to implement, and then, and this is a big deal to me, how quickly do the coaches understand the player and get the player and get what the player does well and doesn't do well? And I think one of the great examples of present-day football right now is the Ravens. And the Ravens obviously said, this kid Lamar Jackson is remarkable at all these things. He's not great at some of this stuff, but he's remarkable at all this stuff. Let's just do a ton of the stuff he's remarkable at. We don't have to do all the stuff he's not great at right now. But we don't need that right now. Let's just do the stuff he's great at. And so as quickly as kind of both those parties can figure it out, but he'll be way more comfortable going into his second year.
Now, Joe Judge and Jason Garrett, Dan, have both been very clear they want to build their schemes and offenses around their players. But generally speaking, how much different is the type of system that Garrett has traditionally run in Dallas to the type of stuff he did with Pat Shurmur last year in New York?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be massively different. I think Pat had a good understanding of the multitude of weapons and trying to get the multitude of people to football. Garrett's always had a guy. Garrett's always had a dominant guy, whether it was Dez Bryant or Amari Cooper, Jason Witten. They've always had a really big focal point, and the offense kind of started there and then spewed from that guy. And I believe that the coaches that are really good in the NFL right now, it's about finding the fifth scorer in the basketball court. That if you watch the Chiefs play and the Eagles play and a Rams team play, these coaches find the third and fourth guy. It doesn't always have to be their go-to guy. And I would like to see if Jason Garrett really kind of dives into that and implements a little bit more of that. Where's my fifth scorer? I know that Golden Tate can win in the slot. I'm aware of that. And I know that Shep can win in the slot. Slayton seems to be a problem. But Ingram's a matchup guy, but where's my fifth scorer? Because then you want to craft all those things around, okay, if I put my fifth scorer out there, you better have 5 DBs that can match up, guys.
Right.
If you don't, my guy's going to win. Okay, cool. You want to bring one of your better guys in to go to my fifth guy. Well, now my third guy's better than your guy. And so it's all about trying to find the weakness of, having enough people on your team to find the weakness of a defense.
Now, talking about Jones learning the offense and the coaches learning Jones, to your point, what's the impact here? And we're probably not going to know this until September, October, Dan, but what's the impact of not being able to be on the field with these guys in the spring and even being in person for meetings compared to the virtual stuff that they've had to do for the last couple months?
Yeah, it's a big deal. I've said this. The teams that have the veteran quarterbacks are a big advantage because those guys are the bona fide leaders, and they've been through it, and they've got years under their belt, and players have confidence that just because we have that guy, we're going to be okay through this. Now, these younger quarterbacks, and Daniel Jones obviously one, they're just starting to plant their flag. They're just starting to really take over and be, this is my franchise. And I know there is the lack of ego, and this is our team. There's no question about that. But at the end of the day, you're the CEO of the billion-dollar company. And it'd be nice to have the CEO of the billion-dollar company having face-to-face interaction with his people. The reality is that's not there. And so it's the little things. It's the sitting in the meeting room at 6 o'clock in the morning together, grinding on tape and getting, you don't watch tape together. You study tape together. How does he study? I want to know how he studies. How does this kid study when he's watching tape? Is there a way that I can help him study better? And, okay, coach, how do you watch tape? How are we going to game plan watching tape? How are we going to practice through the season? Is Wednesday going to be our regular install? Are we going to do red zone and third down on Thursday? All those things. And then being on the field, some of the greatest growth for players, let alone quarterbacks, but for players, is in between plays, in between periods. Daniel, why the heck did you throw that ball over there? Hey, man, that was a beautiful read. Tell me how you saw that.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Hey, coach, listen, I like taking 3-step drop out of the gun. I don't feel comfortable taking a 5-step. Daniel, you're getting too deep in your gun drop. All those little things in between plays, they miss out on. And it's just we're gonna ask players to walk and run in certain systems before they've ever had the chance to crawl and fall, and there's going to be that growing pain there, and kind of whatever team I guess handles it with their younger quarterback the best certainly will start this season in an advantage.
Dan, final 2 questions, big picture ones. When you go back and you think about everything that was said about Jones coming out of college, what do you think he proved wrong about some of that analysis in that rookie year, now that you've basically watched every snap he took on tape over the past couple days?
Yeah, and I was one of those people. I would say this. Through one season, Daniel Jones is more talented just as a base talent than I gave him credit for. Again, I think I undervalued the lack of people around him and how poor they were. I think the toughness that was displayed, the personality was a thing for me. Like I think his personality was one that was endearing to guys on his football team. He obviously handled a wildly unique situation pretty darn well.
Yeah, you think?
But just like, I just think maybe the foundational talent is better than I certainly gave him credit for. And you know, that's a testament to the work and the character of him. I do believe we got to give young quarterbacks 3 years to figure out what they really are. And so, and I've said this when Daniel was drafted. He can't be good. You know, he can't be good because the 6th pick of the draft can't be good. You got to go be great. And, you know, he certainly laid a really, really promising start, and the second year will be part of his story.
Yeah, and then final question, just how optimistic should Giant fans be right now? What should they be thinking about their rookie quarterback heading into year 2, milestones they should look for, and just the overall confidence level that the Giants do have their next franchise quarterback?
Yeah, I would be very, very optimistic. You know, what about his game do you sit there and go, uh-oh? You know, like, you know, I very optimistic. Again, context matters. He was thrust into a wild situation, and the team wasn't crazy talented, and went out and played some good football and played some promising football. Now play better when it matters more against good defenses, and that is not going to happen overnight. This is a developmental position. Giants fans, as wild as this or crazy as this is going to sound, you got to remain patiently impatient. You know, you got to be impatient because you want to win right now, and you got to dynamic tailback that's not getting any younger, but there is a patience aspect to that position in the development of it. And so you want him to play bigger football against better teams, against better defenses when it matters more, and more consistency, obviously valuing the football, and, you know, just continuing to take the developmental steps. And sometimes when you need to carry the football team, can you? That will always be the question for the quarterbacks. Can you? When the number one receiver is out, or the offensive line stinks today, or the defense got a 30-burger hung on them, can you carry the team? And to have moments like that this season, you want your quarterback to be in there, and you want him to do that.
Hey, Giants fans, Saquon Barkley here. You want to see more videos? Subscribe below.